Okay, and we are recording.
Okay, so welcome to the Energy and Climate Action Committee meeting on July 2nd, 2025. I'm not going to read my usual opening statement because we're starting a little late. So I'm just going to go right into it. So the first thing we always do is we need a note taker. So before we even get started, can I get a volunteer? Can't be Steve.
Oh, I can do it. I haven't done it in a while.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, so the next thing we're doing is reviewing and voting on the minutes. We did not have a meeting for 6 weeks now, I think it's been, because we didn't have a quorum the last two times. So the minutes that we're looking at are from May 21st, and the only correction I found, I'll share it right now, is there is at the top of it, it says meeting minutes from May 7th. So I think that needs to be corrected, but let me go ahead and share this. Share minutes. Share. Okay, so there are minutes. Let me put you folks back where I can see you.
Oh, right. Yeah, it should say the 21st. Got it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I found that I thought needed to be fixed. Otherwise, they looked okay to me. Anyone see any? Thing you want to change? We heard that Elevate has been canceled by Trump, and yesterday, looks like pretty much everything else is going to get canceled by Trump, including all those nice tax credits for solar and wind and heat pumps. Any other changes, any comments? If not, when you're ready, someone move to accept the minutes.
I'll move.
Can make them a little bigger. I realize they're not too big. That's a little better. Who moved? Was that Don?
Yeah, I did.
Don.
Yep.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second.
Okay, can you close the
Yes, stop
minutes?
sharing.
Thank you. Okay, so in no particular order, Goldner,
Yes.
Ising,
Yes.
Leinung,
Yes.
Roof,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes are approved.
Okay, first order of business is always public comment. We have a public member. Any
We do.
comments?
I'm gonna, if you could give me a minute to sort of jump in. This is Abigail. I'm gonna actually move her to a presenter status so that you can actually, or panelist, so that you can meet her. So Abigail, I'm promoting you. There you go. Great,
Hello,
excellent.
Abigail.
So you can just introduce yourself. I just wanted to bring you into the room.
Okay. Yeah, I am a student at Amherst College, but I'm interning for the town hall over the summer as a community engagement intern. So I've just been working a lot with Sam, but I am an environmental studies major. I'm really interested in sustainability, and it's been cool to get to talk a bit with Stephanie about like sustainability initiatives in the town of Amherst. So she just invited me to like attend this meeting. I'm just interested in, I guess, seeing how it runs. I didn't have any specific questions, but just seeing the overall meeting. Yeah, I've helped a bit with the feasibility study or feasibility survey for the Mass CC EV charging, and we did a site visit today, which was cool just to sort of see where they could possibly go around town. But yeah, I just wanted to say hi and introduce myself. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Abigail, for joining us. Good to have you for the summer. All right, let's see. And that's
Thanks,
it for-
Abigail.
Thank you, thank you.
You.
All right, so So for Abigail, I'll just state that I didn't do my normal opening thing, but there are two things that we do here, and almost everything we discuss falls under one or the other. One is outreach and education, which is up your alley there. And the other one, also sort of up your alley, since you're an environmental studies student, is advisory and support to the town. So we do engagement and outreach, and we do advisory and support stuff around policy, around sustainability policy. So the first thing we wanted to talk about today that's on the agenda is the op-ed submission. So this is something we started quite a while ago, which I will now share on potholes and climate change. I didn't make any changes. We talked about, let me share it first and give you a reminder as to where we stood with it. Let me just make this so it's a little bit easier to see. How come I can't find view? There's what I'm looking for. Page width. Let me share this. So we were going to send this. We've all noticed the hideous potholes in Amherst, and I think Laura pointed out that the potholes are also an effect of climate change. And so we thought we would write a little note to the, and at the same time, there's a bill that was introduced. I don't remember the name of it, but I have not been able to get any updates on it, to basically establish a super fund in Massachusetts to be paid for by oil companies to deal with things like resiliency and hopefully would help pay for things that are climate change related, negative impacts of climate change and resiliency efforts. So we thought it'd be nice to just write a little note reminding people that the potholes that they're dealing with are also an effect of climate change, and that we really need to try to get folks to help with this. Companies that cause emissions are not the ones paying for the impacts, right? Those costs, like everything else, get paid down, get passed down to us. So I was tasked with going and trying to find out the status of that bill, and I've gotten crickets. Joe, I think Mindy Dome's staff offered to figure it out for me, and they never got back to me, or maybe that was Joe's staff. I don't even remember. And Joe never got back to me, but no one got back to me about it. And I've asked several times now. However, at the same time, Joe Comerford put out a bunch of other notices about different bills, and I'll talk about those later in the policy part of the agenda. But I think we should just gloss over it for now and not, point out that companies need to pay for this, and basically leave this as is. So we can do a quick dramatic reading, or I can just let you guys read through it. How do you want to do this? It's short.
Did we review this back in May?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, and I may have provided some comments at one point.
Yeah, we reviewed it with the idea that maybe we needed to add to it something about what was the action? What was the action we were asking people to do? And the action would be to support this bill. But I have been unsuccessful at figuring out what to support, who to call about what. So if somebody's blocking it, I don't know who it is. I mean, I asked that specifically. Is somebody blocking this bill? Someone who's using, it's probably Tony is using the link I sent. Hi, Tony.
Yeah,
Hello.
Tony. Hey, there you are.
Sorry, I'm in traffic, so I'm joining from my phone today.
No
Okay,
worries.
we did get a quorum, so if it's dangerous for you to be on the call, you and Steve are both in cars.
Seems like the day for it.
I'm
Yes.
parked.
So okay, so the other Lori Goldner is Tony. All right, so let's see. So at any rate, the proposal is to just send this in as is, since we could not get an answer. This is Tony, it was something you were also interested in, I think, this potholes and climate change op-ed or opinion piece that we were going to send to the Gazette.
Great. I was going to mention that in today's meeting too, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah, no, it's the first thing, almost the first thing on the agenda. I tried to get an answer from both Mindy Dome and Joe Comerford repeatedly about the status of the Superfund bill, and I got crickets. So my thought, or how we could support it, or who was blocking it, or any information at all. And I got a promise that they would look into it, and in 6 weeks I have gotten no information. So my proposal was to simply, we don't have a specific ask in here. It's just to inform people that this is the case and that maybe prep them for a second one later where we ask them to support a specific bill. But for now, just a informational opinion piece, right? So I can, since you're in the car, why don't I read through it real quick? It's not hard. Any objections? Should I go ahead and read it? Okay, increased temperatures due to climate change are negatively impacting our health, our environment, our infrastructure, and our economy. Yet corporations and governments aren't doing nearly enough to cut climate warming emissions, even when they know that the economic cost of inaction in the long run will be significantly greater than making needed investments now. One reason for this lack of urgency is that companies that cause emissions are not the ones who are paying for the impacts. Those costs get passed down to us. The cost of home insurance increases for all of us, so insurance companies can try to cover losses due to increased wildfires. Prices at the grocery store increase due to crop losses from extreme heat, flooding, and droughts. The increased need for disaster relief to replace infrastructure lost in extreme storms is paid for by our federal, state, and local tax dollars. In fact, even more mundane things our tax dollars pay for, like fixing potholes, are happening more frequently thanks to climate change and erratic freeze and thaw cycles. If you've been following local politics, you know that budgets are tight. Most local towns can't afford to keep up with our road repairs now, and it's only going to get worse. Some states, like New York and Vermont, have enacted climate superfund legislation to collect fees from fossil fuel companies to pay for climate-induced disaster relief and needed investments in climate change resilient infrastructure. These laws have the potential to take some burden off taxpayers, which every politician should be supporting. Not surprising, however, the American Petroleum Institute and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has filed a suit against the states, and the current federal administration is backing the fossil fuel industry. Time will tell whether these climate superfund laws will survive, but the idea behind them is critical. Local communities cannot bear the cost of climate inaction alone. Next time you see a pothole and wish the town would repair it already, take a minute to reach out to your state and federal elected officials and remind them that we need urgent investments to combat climate change and for fossil fuel companies to pay their fair share for the damage that has already been done. It sort of has an ask, but it's not very specific because I don't know what the specific ask should be. So if we're okay with that, I can submit it where, to the Gazette or somewhere else? Or, well, oh, go ahead, Stephanie.
I was just going to say maybe provide the contact information for Mindy and Joe. Just,
Okay.
well, just, I mean, they are our legislators. They should, if we're encouraging people to, contact them, then we just give them the information, and as, that's the ask.
I was gonna suggest the same.
I was
Also,
reading your mind, Tony. Sorry.
is this something that, when finalized, we can also send to other climate action organizations?
Sure. I mean, I can send it to local energy advocates that I participate in, or
Great,
BEA,
cool.
or sure. I think getting it in the local paper will get their attention too, for local groups anyway.
Should we also try to send it to somewhere like the Globe, since this is a statewide issue?
Well, then we should leave out Mindy Dome and Joe Comerford if we're going to
Yeah.
do that.
Well, we can send different versions to different publications.
I'd be happy to do that.
Or in the Globe one, you could just send the leaders of the Senate and House and the governor if you want, but I don't know.
No, I think people can figure out how to. They wouldn't publish it anyway,
Yeah.
right? People can
Yeah.
figure it out.
But it's worth a shot.
There's a fair chance it would get edited out of a local thing too, right? Because that's something people.
Yeah.
Certainly send it to Mindy and Joe. So I'll make some notes. So send to where if we're going to do this, I think we still need to vote on this wording. I'll fill in the ... But if this is acceptable and we vote on it, then we will send it as a committee. I'll send it, I guess, as Lori Goldner for ECAC, for chair of ECAC, or for the ECAC. I'm not sure. Last time I did that, they said it was me, so I'm not sure how to sign it so it shows up as Amherst Energy and Climate Action Committee and not Lori Goldner.
Can you say on behalf of the Energy and Climate Action Committee?
I can try that. On behalf of the ECAC, and I'll spell it out. To Boston Globe, Gazette, Are there other local papers? Should I send it to, what's it called? This is
The Recorder,
Recorder. I can send it to a few places.
the Republican.
Republican. I don't know half of these.
Some of these are, well, some of these are other like Republican in Springfield area too. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it maybe we want to list how to contact the, the White House, the State House directory. Maybe
State House.
just a link to a State House directory.
Oh, maybe just a link. Okay, you can reach how about I do that at the bottom, and then I don't have to write several different versions.
Yeah, exactly.
You can find your local representative here, and I'll do something about that. Like I say, I suspect it'll get edited out. Especially if the Globe prints it, it'll get chopped in half. So is that okay? Just putting that in like that? Something like that? So if that's okay with everyone, I think we need a vote. So I should stop sharing. Are there other changes? This will be Laura Drucker's last, her final,
Contribution.
Yeah, contribution. Although I'm sure we'll be hearing from her again. I hope we will. What do you think?
I
I
think the
move
wording
to
is
accept.
great.
Yeah.
Same. I second.
So there's a move to who
And
moved?
Andrew
Andy,
moves
and
to
was that Tony who seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will stop sharing. I think.
Sorry, can you give me language for a motion though? That was not a,
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
a proper motion. Sorry.
I move to, sorry, what is the wording? What's the proper wording?
To maybe to.
I move to accept the amendments to the op-ed.
I
Actually,
second.
we never did it as in the first place. So I'll move to what's the word to approve.
Approve the
approve.
amendments.
Yeah, to approve this letter be sent to. What did we decide on? We decided on Globe, Gazette, Recorder, Republican.
News,
News
my goodness,
organization.
yeah,
Publications.
news publications
So what's
or
the
media
word?
publications.
All right, yeah, I move to approve the op-ed to be sent out to various print medias.
I'll send a copy.
Well,
to you.
It's
Great.
going to go digital too, probably. So we'll
Right.
just say media outlets.
That sounds good.
Great.
Okay.
Written word media outlets.
All right, so we need a vote, but if Tony.
You need I'm sorry, who's the second? Tony?
I second.
Tony.
Tony. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yes, now we need a vote. So Goldner,
Yes.
Issing,
Yes.
Roof,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Leinung,
Yes.
and Tony. I know we can't. Oh,
Yes.
excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. All right.
All right,
We're good.
good. So I will send that out and try not to forget. Onward. So the next big thing we need to talk about is the education series. And if Abigail is still with us, looks like she is. This is actually interesting, I think, to her as well. I will bring this up. Uh-oh. Thought I had opened it just a moment. No, I did open it. It's here. Okay. So I wanted to spend a little time brainstorming, seeing what we can come up with for education series. So I put together this spreadsheet, which you all should have gotten a link to. Let me go ahead and share this. Education series, I have a bunch of things to share, but this is the current one. So, I sort of thought about last time, what were the sorts of things folks were proposing and put them into themes. Stuff that residents can do, which is sort of what we mostly have done in the past, right? EVs, solar, heat pumps, right? What you need to know if you're going to do something, particular action. But some of the other things that came up were around activism, policy info, and associated actions. And then just informational stuff. One of the things in the energy bill that is now that is up for debate, I guess, in Massachusetts, in the House and Senate of Massachusetts, is, for example, to encourage nuclear power and allow small modular reactors. So that's something I could imagine a lot of Amherst residents might have questions about. So it might be, and UMass wants to use renewable fuels. What the heck does that mean, right? So informational stuff. I was working on trying to get somebody to talk about this. I have failed, as I mentioned earlier, the Superfund bill. And there were a few other things that came up last time, I think, around fossil fuel. I don't forget what this is about. Is this a particular effort that we talked about last time? Fossil fuel free Mass? It's probably something someone saw somewhere. Maybe it was even me, I just don't remember. So, up for discussion. Anyone have ideas for things that might be interesting to the public? Who would be possible speakers and who's going to spearhead it, meaning who's gonna, work with Stephanie and find a time slot and a speaker and plan the event. In the past, we've done these in the second hour. We meet from 5:30 to 6:30, and at 6:30 we have a webinar on a topic. The whole thing's a webinar, but I mean, we have a specialized webinar. We don't have to do it that way, but that's how it's been done in the past. Now, hopefully we're getting a couple new members soon. So I expect to have this discussion again once they're on board, but what do you guys got? Anybody, any of these topics making anyone excited, or is there another topic that you'd like to work on? Do you have an expertise you want to talk about?
I have can I ask a question for clarifying purposes?
Sure.
Will these always be webinars?
I don't think they have to be, but that's what we've done in the past. So if you have other ideas, sure. I mean, you did the joint meeting between, ECAC and Elegant here, right?
Yes, that's something I was thinking of proposing, except the proposal would be just kind of how to get involved and take action, generally speaking, like as a baseline to jump off of for a lot of people before throwing kind of specific organizations or infrastructures their way. It's just like helping people understand where they can find the kinds of groups that are tackling the same questions they may be having. Random thinking, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's actually interesting because I'm thinking that, the Sustainability Festival brings in a lot of people, but it doesn't necessarily bring in all of the local activist groups, right? So there are a lot of local activist groups, and depending on what you're interested in, maybe we could have a little activism fair. I mean, does anyone do that?
That's a
Where
great idea.
Sunrise and BEA and LEA all show up to let people know what they do?
And if that is a thing, I would be happy to help coordinate and organize that.
And it could just be, a couple hours in a library or something like that. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I was just going to say that we have had lots of representation in the past, but some people who represented certain groups, like, Andrea was very connected with Mothers Out Front, but she isn't with them anymore. So, wasn't able to have them represented. And Sunrise just didn't even respond. Like I did outreach to members and I haven't heard back. So some of it is also maybe, I don't know.
Summer.
I don't know why. Yeah, I'm not sure. We used to have more representation at the Sustainability Festival, but those groups haven't been as involved. So having a separate day is fine, but I wouldn't want them to just do this and not do that too, because I really think they're important to have, and I'd love to get them back.
Okay, yeah, yeah, and I have now contacts at UMass Sunrise and Heat Smart. I could even represent Heat Smart, represent Heat Smart rather. Excuse me. Different ways for people to get involved in sustainability. That's interesting, Tony. Let's you know, if you'd be willing to help with that. Whoops, not speakers, I think.
Yeah.
I put you here.
I'll keep it circulating in my brain as it develops.
Yep. And maybe this is something to do in September or early October after folks get back. We'd probably use the space at UMass if we wanted to. That'd be easy to arrange and free.
And then my other suggestion before I stop talking so other people can was roping in Krista Harper. She does the energy justice community in Holyoke. They do a fantastic job of informing the Holyoke public about kind of just how to identify energy sources within their home and within their community. And I feel like that would also be a very beneficial and engaging activity to try to pull off.
What's the name of her group?
It's the Holyoke Energy Project.
Holyoke Energy Project.
And like their whole focus is on just like recognizing energy and energy infrastructure. It works in Holyoke because they also have the dam. So it's like they can do a lot of field trips. But I'm sure we can find a way to alter that to fit the context of Amherst.
Well, we have our solar arrays all around town and on campus, and yeah. So someone to speakers or participants. Let's say speakers or participants. Other comments, ideas?
So most of the stuff is about energy generation, power generation, fuel. Should we have something about like reducing like garbage and recycling and stuff like that? I know that a lot of people care a lot about it, but the
Yes.
town seems to be stuck with its RFP for waste hauler reform or whatever that is. So kind of just keep pushing the envelope on that. I think the public cares enough about it, actually. I think.
Yeah, there's a group called Zero Waste Amherst or something like that. Is that what it's called?
That sounds right. We can double check.
And I think Darcy was also involved with that at some point. Darcy was involved with that, not or maybe both. What's I can't think of her name. Who was involved with Mothers Out Front? Anda? No.
Andra.
Andra. I'm losing her name. So I think I have contacts at Zero Waste Amherst through her. In fact, I'm sure I do because they got sent the Barstow tour invite. So yeah, that could be something that could also be here, Zero Waste Amherst. Were you thinking more for this fair, or were you thinking as a webinar on what you can do?
Maybe both. Why not both?
I stuck it in both places. That's good thought. Is there other things like that that I might have left out completely?
There's also a good article I heard on NPR today about a small Massachusetts town that implemented a pay-as-you-throw system with great success. They reduced their trash output by half.
Ooh, and who was that?
I'll send you the article. It's Plimpton, Massachusetts.
Plimpton, P-L-I.
Plympton. Sorry, Plympton.
Plimpton, Mass. Oh,
Yeah.
Plimpton, Mass.
It was a nice 5-minute report, and they instituted pay as you throw, but also crucially, recycling, composting, which, yeah, great success.
Yeah, which I'm finding out more about because I'm finally taking the big step and getting rid of my waste hauler and just taking my stuff to the dump.
Hmm.
So we do a lot of that, right? But not at no one picks it up.
Well, right.
It's sort of
That's where waste hauler reform comes in.
yes,
And
yes.
because I would compost, but man, does that costs a fair amount of money to work with our waste hauler, whereas
Yeah.
Well,
And
we
the
are
alternative
we know about that.
is figuring out how to store the compost so you can bring it to the dump once a week, and it's more time and it's more energy.
Yeah, would be
it's
great to
less-
have a centralized effort and make it easy for everyone.
Agreed. Other topics like that? Okay. All right, so we'll come back to this again. Maybe we will have a once we have a full committee again, maybe we'll have a retreat and go through some of this stuff and set a few dates. But Tony, I think this sounds like a great thing to do. I would love to do that.
Great. I'll reach out and see what information I can get as a starting point for how to organize it from Krista.
So here we would need if you have anyone that you think would make a good speaker, webinar, if there's somebody who does a webinar on this topic, Andrew.
Yeah, I can look. Didn't we have, maybe I'm misremembering, didn't we have someone give a webinar on waste hauler reform, or is that something else?
We did have somebody give a report, I think.
Yeah, could just get them back, maybe something.
Was that who did? Do you remember that, Stephanie? I have a vague recollection of this.
Can look through the minutes.
I don't, but we can check our videos too.
And minutes, yeah. Who reported on this in the past? CAC. Okay, we'll try to figure that out. All right, so I'll go ahead and stop share, go on to the next thing. Nothing else? All right, I'll stop that for a while then. Let me go back to, although I think I'm going to need to share that again. Oh, Barstow tour. Okay, so the next thing was the Barstow tour. So for various reasons, that's not going to work out as an ECAC tour, but you should all have gotten personal invites from me. I'm just putting this tour together. I've sent invites to people at UMass. I've sent invites to LEA. Please pass it on to your communities. If you have kids who might be interested in seeing how poop gets processed into biogas, the biggest fart maker in the world. We have a maximum of 50 people for just the biodigester tour, and it's not very expensive. It's like $35, and I will put out for it. I don't care. If we get a lot of people, I might ask for them to throw in $1 each, and if not, I'll just cover it. It's fine. So it's me, personal invite to all of you to please show up at the Barstow tour. Sign up for it, please, so that I know we have some people. There are 3 signed up at the moment. I think if we get a couple more, I'll go. If it's fewer than 3, I think, if I only have 3 RSVPs, I'll probably cancel.
Lori, do you want to just announce the date and time?
Oh, sorry, the date. And if anybody's interested out there listening to this recording, contact me. You can contact me through Stephanie. The date is July 10, Thursday at 6 p.m. The tour will start, but we're going to meet at 5:30 because Barstow Dairy in Hadley, I don't have the address offhand, but it's a Barstow Dairy Farm store. We're going to meet there. They have ice cream. So we figured we would get some ice cream at 5:30 and then go on the tour at 6. It's a walking tour, so you got to wear boots. Well, you don't got to wear boots, but you should wear boots. It's a farm. And it's apparently just a 20-minute tour to go to the biodigester, so it's not a big deal. I think we'll have enough questions that it might push it to half an hour, but it's a short tour. If there's interest, we can do the whole farm tour. It'll take an hour and we can get to see the milking machine and everything else. But right now, I'm just assuming it's going to be the biodigester tour. There's going to be another tour that UMass is going to be put together. I don't know how open that will be, but it'll be so Barstow gets its processed material from Vanguard, which sources it from all over the place, including UMass. They get thousands of tons, I think, of material from UMass every year, and they process that a little bit to send to Barstow and other places. So there'll be a Vanguard tour as well sometime this summer, I hope. And if I can invite you guys, I will. I don't know what the rules are going to be there because I'm not putting that one together. Okay, so that's not an ECAC thing. I'm going to be explicit, not an ECAC thing, not a town thing. It doesn't work out in part because it is not accessible. And there's no bathrooms at the end of the tour because the store will be closed. So, all right. So, okay, going on from there, education and outreach. Our outreach component of the agenda has now been reached. Any word on PACE, Don?
I'm sorry, I've done nothing for the last 3 weeks except be on vacation. So
It's okay. It's okay. It's that time of year and there's a lot going on, so not to worry. Coordination with local groups. Tony, you got anything to report?
I ditto, Don. I have nothing for you.
Okay. Heat pumps. I am. So Tony, you got trained as a heat pump coach this year. Do you have any interest in being involved in that?
I do. Yes, I would.
Okay, good. So
Or I did. Yes, I would.
Yep, I do have some little updates there, which is just that the Northampton heat pump thing is up and running and they're starting to add other folks. So I was going to talk to Eric this week. I'll include you in my email in case you want to be involved in that as well.
Great. Yes, please.
So let me just write myself a note. Contact Eric Broadbent. I just went to a coaching. I go to these Heat Smart Alliance coaching working group meetings where they talk about case studies and go over, to get everybody up on what's going on. There's also a new abode. If you don't know about this and want to know about it, contact me and I'll figure out how to connect you. There is Abode Energy is also running now a heat pump coaching sort of a clearinghouse. They meet once a month. They have a webinar. This month's webinar, I think, is on Mass Save incentives, an overview of the Mass Save incentives. Last time it was on, what do you call it? When you, the advantage of an integrated heating system. More and more people have multiple heating apparatus in their house, right? They have a boiler and they have heat pumps and maybe they have a wood stove and and you can't really integrate the wood stove, but everything else you can integrate and get it to work together optimally. And in fact, getting Mass Save incentives when you have a system like that now depends on it being integrated. So last month's webinar was on integration. This month's is on the new Mass Save incentives. So they do something every month, and they also have I don't remember if it's a Slack channel or a Google group or some sort of connection between heat pump coaches all across the Commonwealth. To some extent, it duplicates what HeatSmart does, but they have more direct expertise, right? Abode actually works in the field and does this stuff for pay. So they're the experts, and it's really nice to be connected to them. So if anyone's interested in that, just send me a quick note and I'll connect you to that as well. Okay. I don't have anything for climate resilient schools. That was the next thing on the agenda. Any other education and outreach items? Okay, advisory and support. I don't remember if the last time we met, let's see, it was May 21st. So we had already had the last meeting. So you guys knew that UMass is going to buy another 100,000 gallons of fuel next year. I think I managed to get a verbal agreement that they wouldn't do more than that, but they have already converted their power plant and could burn diesel 100% of the time if they wanted to. So I'm still horrified about that. I've been asking Mindy and Joe if they understand how the permitting process works and how they were able to do that without public hearings, because that seems a pretty big change. But I haven't gotten an answer. Any questions? If not, next on the agenda is the draft solar bylaw. Okay, Steve. Can you talk?
No new updates that I am aware of.
Okay. Transportation, Tony, got anything new?
Nothing new, but now that I hear the word transportation, it would be good to send the op-ed. I don't know if you can send it between committees, but I can send a copy their way.
Yeah.
Great.
I would just share a copy with them. I can do that, or you can do it.
Great. Yeah. If you can do it, just because you're gonna do like a big mass anyway, just add them to the list. Otherwise, no other news or updates.
Yeah, get some notes. Okay, regional estate policy updates. I actually have quite a few. I've been trying to get my head around what Joe has been sending out. I don't know how many other people have time to read through her emails. But I tried to read through them today and also take some notes. There are four things actually, but one of them I didn't pay much attention to, that she's written about recently that are going forward in the Senate. One of them is a summary of the solar smart. I forget what it stands for, but it's the solar rebates that people can get through Massachusetts and the solar financing and stuff like that folks can get. And I think this includes, I'm not sure, but I think this includes rooftop solar. When you put solar on your rooftop, are you applying, Steve, do you know if that is under the SMART program?
Oh, I should know, but there's a brand new SMART program that is just getting up and running, and I don't know the parameters on that.
Yeah, so it's anything less, so it's separate rules for things that are less than 250 kilowatts and greater. So I think that's anything. The only proviso was there was something in it about if it's a rooftop solar, it can't be bigger than 25 kilowatts or something like that. Hang on, I made some notes. Let me just bring my notes up here. SMART. Okay, it must be 5 megawatts or less. So that would seem to me to mean rooftop solar on single family homes, but it didn't mention them specifically. If it's over 25 kilowatts, you need additional documents. So apparently under 25 kilowatts is an easier application process, which would be, I think, most houses.
Yep.
They're taking a new tack that I think is different. Maybe they did something like this last time, but they do what they call rate adders, which are additional subsidies for certain things. And then there are also mitigation fees, which are, they take money from you for certain things. So rate adders are for things like using a brownfield, using building mounted, canopy or dual use agriculture, floating solar, solar on landfills or large building mounted. Those all get additional subsidies. There are also some that are based on, those are location based subsidies. They also have off-taker rate adders, which are things like if it's community shared, 3 or more customers, which is interesting because you could have like, maybe 3 of your neighbors want to get together and build a little solar array in your backyards or something. I suppose. Low income property and public entities. There are other things for pollinators and solar tracking. You get a little extra for that. But then there are the mitigation fees. And this is where some of this stuff there was one thing in particular that had me a little worried. Don't remember where it went. Most of them looked reasonable. But the mitigation fees were for things like based on if they're really trying to discourage cutting down forests, right? So there's a carbon storage mitigation fee. The average forest carbon stock plus the amount of carbon projected to be sequestered in metric tons of carbon per acre with the project footprint. So there's a mitigation fee that has to do with how much carbon you're not storing anymore. There's ecological integrity, critical natural landscape, a lot of the things we've talked about before, agricultural potential, cumulative impacts, assessment of historical development and ground mounted solar. This has to do, I think, with environmental justice, cumulative impacts of an area, I think, and then grid alignment, long-term cost and ecological impacts of grid infrastructure built out. So those mitigation fees go into a trust fund that support conservation, ecosystem, and biodiversity. There are things that are ineligible that look mostly reasonable. The thing that got my attention, though, is it looks like they do allow dual use agricultural, and there's some pretty strict rules around it. You can't change what you're doing with the land underneath it, which seems unreasonable. So I'm not sure I'm reading that right, but that's sure what it sounds like. So it looks like farmers aren't going to be allowed to convert a field to solar, which strikes me as a problem. So that's something that, I don't know, Don, if you want to take a look at that, if you want to have a look at this bill and see if I'm reading that right.
I don't mind at all.
Yeah. So that was the thing that struck me as, I don't know, that a lot of this, I'm not so crazy over quite how hard they're pushing to prevent a little bit of conversion of forest, but it might not be too bad. But that one thing struck me as maybe counterproductive. So I don't know, maybe there's something in there that exempts farmers working the land and wanting to pay. If it is, I didn't see it in the summary. Okay, all right, so Don, thanks.
Lori, could you put your source of all that information in the minutes?
Yes.
Or
yes.
distribute it to us? Because I've been meaning to read up on all of this.
And what's the
yes.
bill number, Lori? Just so
here, let me share this. Okay, now this isn't a bill. This is just new smart solar regulations. I'm sorry, this is not a bill. These are just regulations. They don't need, and they're going to go into effect, period. And there is a comment period, I think, going on now where you can comment on them, but I think they're not planning. I don't think there's any opportunity to change the.
What agency is issuing these regulations?
Smart DOER, it looks like.
Yeah.
DOER has indicated 3 months of public process before it begins implementation.
Yeah.
So I basically read through this and just tried to, I had a couple other things that I looked at, but mostly I was reading through this. So I can send links to this. This was all in that, you should have gotten sent a letter from Joe Comerford, 2 letters from Joe Comerford.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That should go in. Yeah, I printed both of them out, actually. The links are in there. So these are the 2 letters that should have gone into that will go into the packet. Hang on a minute, I gotta find them. For some reason, this is not working right. Gmail, there we go. There were 2 letters from, oh, come on. Hang on. From Joe. Sorry, I'm trying to make this so I can read it on my screen. So this was the one, the Solar Canopy Working Group is the only one I didn't actually look at. The SMART program was linked there. And then there were 2 other things. One of them is the energy affordability issues, and that act is also very interesting. But the one that was most urgent, let me do that first, was this last thing, this environmental bond bill. And that one I printed out here. No, that's still SMART again. They're calling them emergency regulations. Affordability, no, mass ready, that's it. So this one, this was interesting because in the letter from Joe Comerford that will eventually be in the packet and that you should have gotten a copy of, she says quite explicitly, she opens it with something that I've been wanting to hear her say more, which is that, give me a second, that between Connecticut River flooding, inadequate payments in lieu of taxes for state-owned land, farms and farmers grappling with high costs and climate change, the Quabbin Reservoir watershed, PFAS contamination in hundreds of culverts and dams, the environmental protection and climate resilience is particularly important for our district. And what she just sort of tossed off in that statement is these inadequate payments in lieu of taxes for state-owned land. What I learned this week from Lynn Griesemer, I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong, our chair of the town council, is that I hadn't realized apparently UMass only pays something like $1 million a year to the town.
Yeah.
Which is crazy and outrageous. Apparently Hadley gets more because the current formula is per acre and they have the Holyoke Range. So they have a Holyoke Range with a couple dozen visitors taxing their infrastructure, and they get more money than Amherst gets from UMass with 30,000 students using our infrastructure. So I thought that this Mass Ready testimony might include these payments in lieu of taxes in there somewhere for state-owned land, but it does not, as far as I can tell. So I had to read through the whole thing to figure out that no, it's not in there. So what is in there is a lot of good things. You know, strengthening our, it's a bond act. It's to issue bonds for strengthening infrastructure, for you know, just a lot of really good things that need to be done. And you know, investing in farms, making a revolving fund. It's mostly a bond act though. And my thought was that this is something that there is a public, the reason this one is a little more urgent than the other one that I wanted to mention is because this one, there is a hearing coming up. And what I was thinking of doing is, since I only found out about this today, I didn't read this one until today. I didn't see the hearing. I think that email about the hearings just came out today. There is the hearings are after our next meeting, or about the same day as our next meeting. When were they? Hang on a minute, let me find it. I have to move this over. Not that one, this one. Okay, so Tuesday, so it's right before our next, there's a hearing on Tuesday, July 15th, but you can testify in person or remotely using this form. Oh, by Monday, July 14th. Damn, I thought it was later than that. I thought it was the end of July. So we don't really have time to do much. Oh, wait, here we go. Please be advised that written testimony submitted will be read by committee members and staff, may be made available to public. Committee will accept written testimony through July 29th. So I think if you want to testify at the hearing, you have to have it in before our next meeting. But if you want to just submit a written comment, you can do it anytime before the end of July or July 29th. So I was going to suggest that I mock up some sort of a statement, which we send in the next packet or maybe a little early, along with a link to this overview and something to send in the way of testimony from ECAC. Does that sound like a reasonable thing to do? I'll probably show up at the meeting myself and encourage you to do the same. But it would be nice, I think, for ECAC to also have some input to this. And maybe the town is doing something as well, Stephanie, I don't know. Does the town respond to stuff like this, or do they?
Sometimes it depends. I mean, I try to attend these things when I can.
Yeah.
And sometimes we weigh in.
I mean, to some extent, I'd much rather see a Superfund bill because this is again asking us to pay for it. But it is stuff that has to be done one way or another. So I hope this isn't what happened to the Superfund bill. I think there's a non-zero possibility that that's the case. But I don't know. Or maybe this was chosen over the Superfund bill to pursue this year. So what do people think? Any comments? Is it a good idea to try to put in should I spend time on drafting something, or does somebody else want to spend time on drafting something?
I think it's
I-
important to
I
bring it up.
Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
I was just saying, I think it's a good idea to at least put it on their radar.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I want to look at the information that you've provided in some more detail and maybe try to determine what elements of it the town and therefore ECAC may want to speak in support of.
Yeah, so some of the things that, let's look at what they say here. Boy, we could really use bike paths and fewer potholes. Could use, much better, support for transportation and EVs. A lot of this is resiliency. Let's see, inland down. How does any of this affect Puffer's Pond, for example? Stephanie, are there flood control measures that would help runoff into Puffer's Pond, for example? Are there things that could be done there?
I'm sure there are. So, I mean, I haven't looked at this carefully, so I'd have to take a look at it.
Yeah. Investing in farms and economies. Food security. Protect farmland. Oh, hey, look at this. 42 million for DEP Superfund hazardous waste sites. So there is a hazardous waste site. It's not a Superfund. It's not what we had hoped, but they mentioned hazardous waste sites. Do we have any hazardous waste? Do we have any hazardous waste sites in Amherst, Stephanie, that you know about?
I don't think we have any brownfields that I'm aware of.
Forestry and tree planting. Our tree committee might have something to say about that. Protecting water and nature, clean water infrastructure, and PFAS contamination. How are we doing for PFAS contamination in our water supply?
Oh,
I don't know.
that's one of the, that's suddenly become a huge sort of major concern. So,
Yeah,
Just
looking at it for the first time.
yeah, I think there's a lot more awareness and investigation now. So,
Right.
it's interesting because it comes up a lot actually. So I don't know,
Yeah.
like people were really concerned about the proposed playing field. And I think that's why they ended up with natural grass rather than artificial turf.
Oh,
So
which
there's,
playing field? I don't know about this.
is it the high school?
The high school
What didn't-
playing field.
Yeah, the high school playing field.
Oh,
Yeah. So now it's, they decided to go with grass rather than artificial turf and that being one of the
Yeah.
big reasons.
I have to say, this is the thing that immediately caught my eye in light of the pothole problem. I think there are better ways to deal with all this stuff. And maybe that should be part of the note we send. But one way or another, potholes, trails need to be dealt with. All right, how about this? I don't want to, unless someone has something they want to add, you really haven't had a chance to look at it. Why don't we look at this again next time, and I'll mock something up. If it comes together, it comes together, and if not, go to the meeting on July 14th or whatever day it was. I encourage everyone to just, say something at this hearing. All right. There was one other, hang on a minute. Let me bring this up again. There's one other thing that I wanted to mention, which was interesting. Not that. Mass Ready, it was this one. So this is the one that's gotten, I think, the most press, which is interesting. This actually is a slightly different summary than what I read, and I made my own notes on this one. So let me see if I can find it. Where did I put it? Where it is. So this is the bill, this bill is the one that energy affordability, independence, and innovation is the one that would allow nuclear and in particular small modular reactors to be developed and built in Massachusetts. But there are a lot of other things to try to, mostly aimed at trying to reduce energy bills. I don't know how nuclear is ever going to do that, but I guess they think it might. It has things like the state buying energy directly instead of paying utilities to do the same, cutting out a middleman and the associated fees. It reduces the value of net metering compensation for large facilities, presumably lowering everybody's costs. It reviews and reforms all, they're particularly upset about all the different charges that show up on your bill. They're trying to get rid of some of those. They mentioned that there was already a $50 credit on April bills, but I don't remember ever seeing that. Did anyone remember seeing a $50 credit on their April bill? Maybe it's just.
Yeah, there was
did?
one.
Okay, huh. So maybe, yeah, all right, at any rate.
It
So,
wasn't exactly well advertised.
okay, good. They have all sorts of innovative financing where utilities are financing things like mass save, modernization, storm response, et cetera, through what they call rate reduction bonds. So not sure how that would work, but again, it seems like selling bonds. Transmissions cost oversight. There's more oversight in how much, increasingly it's the transmission part of our bills that's killing us, not the supply part. So there's some oversight on that. There's a lot of additional regulation and oversight of what goes into bills and how the market works. So there's a lot of this variable market energy switch mass that I'm fond of, or used to be fond of, has a lot of potential for fraud and for just general consumer, what's the word I'm looking for being really nasty to consumers. So it eliminates automatic renewals when you opt into it, when you get into a contract, and variable rate contracts. I was wondering if it would affect Valley Green Energy at all, but I doubt it. It authorizes gas companies to own and operate geothermal heat loops, which is huge and very cool, and might actually help even universities like UMass make a difference, do the right thing. It prohibits cutting off energy for non-payment during heat waves. I think we already have that during cold spells, now during heat waves as well. Expands the moderate income discount rate to gas customers as well as electric. And there was something in here that I didn't quite get. It says, additionally, the governor's proposal authorizes the utilities to establish programs that allow individual customers to finance clean heating, weatherization, and other home upgrades through their bills over time, reducing the need for upfront incentives paid through utility rates. So I'm not quite sure what that means. Does that mean I'm going to be paying for my own mass save incentive through my bill? I don't know what that means. So there's some things in here I didn't quite get, but most of it looked pretty good, and maybe we'll actually lower energy rates a little bit. So those are things going on at the State House. Steve, there was also the solar canopy group that I don't know if you know anything about it or are interested in that, but that was the other thing that I didn't look at that was in that email.
I'm interested. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll stop sharing unless someone wants to see the rest. I mean, I can scroll down this thing, but the links are all in the thing I sent, in the email I sent. So I'll stop sharing this. That's what I have for regional and state policy updates. So that brings us to, if there are any other advisory and support, any policy issues anyone wants to talk about? If not, we go on to staff updates.
Sorry, I was writing. So it's been a while, but just to give you an update on the heat pump program, we still have 15 households that are in the pipeline, and actually I should say 12 now, because one of them is complete and there are 2 more that are due to be installed soon. And I would say probably by the end of the summer, they'll be totally complete as well. So we're still, things have slowed down obviously now because it's the summertime and people are going away. So we will be having another information session on September 9th, I believe. And that will be via Zoom, and we'll hope to have some translation services for that meeting, and also testimonial from folks who have actually completed the process so they can talk about what it was like for them. So overall, very positive. The folks that completed their install for their heat pump said they thought CET was great. They thought it was a great program. They're really excited about it. So far, that's only one, but still positive feedback, and people seem to be that are getting involved are excited about it. So that's really encouraging. Abigail very quickly referenced the on-street parking survey that we have going, that'll be going online probably on Monday. We are in receipt of from some funding from Mass CEC for technical assistance and engineering for identifying the feasibility of on-street EV charging. And we have some spots that they have identified. We had the site visit today, and those will be included as part of the survey. We'll let people sort of see where those are proposed, to see where people think they'd most like to see it. If there are areas that have been left out, obviously the thing about the charging is it's not just something you can cite anywhere. There are certainly certain parameters like transformers, access to transformers and electric poles and all kinds of other infrastructure that kind of have to align up to make it work properly. So that effort is moving forward. We can announce it because the information was embargoed by Mass CEC until today. So we're finally able to really announce that we got that, that we got that assistance. So so that's underway. I'm trying to think if there are any other things. I think those are kind of the two big initiatives we're working on right now. So as far as the building decarbonization efforts, we're moving forward. It's just a little bit slower, but as we have become a climate leader community, we will be applying for an RFP to put out an RFP for some engineering assistance and hopefully get the funding to do that piece. And that's 150,000. So we're, moving forward. Our facilities manager was out for some time, had some surgery, and so was out for a while. So just kind of getting back into it, and that kind of slowed things down a little bit, but we're just trying to get back in the groove with that effort. So just moving forward as we have been.
Okay. Thanks,
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Or anybody, do we know anything about the new state large building energy reporting requirement? I
Oh,
know
yes.
there's some buildings at Hampshire College that fall under that.
Yeah, I
and
had to do
the
that.
Program's just getting started.
Yeah.
You have to do
Yes.
that for the town?
Yes, I did. Yeah, we had a handful of buildings. Well, we had some that were identified. It was weird. The list identified some. One location didn't even identify. Really, it was hard to tell where it was at all. Like listed a street, but didn't say anything about what it was. So we disputed a few things, and then we actually added a few things. Like town hall wasn't on the list. We added that. I think the police department having trouble getting that on the list. So I've been to a few meetings with DOER and the Green Communities folks because we already have a database of information that we submit. I mean, that's part of what our Green Communities reporting is getting that information to the state. So there's a way in which we can utilize the Green Communities Mass Energy Insight reporting platform to push the information to the other DOER program. So, they're both same, same department, just different programs, under the same division, I should say. So yes, it was a bit of a bear figuring it out. Are you doing it for the college, Steve?
I'm not, one of my colleagues is, and yeah, it seems like there's a lot to work out on some of the details on how to do the reporting. And for us, our individual big buildings they're not individually metered.
Yep.
So I think we're gonna have to conglomerate them and report as a campus.
My understanding is that because this is the first run through of getting, getting the reporting, that as long as people are making an effort, we were told, don't panic, which I just kind of chuckled to myself because I didn't get the letter until I think the beginning of May, and reporting was due at the end of May. So it was kind of a oh no. And there's a lot of information. It's kind of a bit of a rabbit hole of information just to figure out what you have to do. So in any case, it sounds like they're maybe giving people some slack as long as you're like not completely ignoring it and doing your best. But just so you know, for everybody else, if you're not aware what we're talking about, the state is requiring all buildings over 20,000 square feet to report their energy use to the state. And so anyone with a building that's over 20,000 square feet is essentially getting notified that you have to submit this information to the state. And it's a requirement. So there's a penalty if you don't submit the required reporting. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
It's a neat program that I think will collect some really good data that will be useful once it's up and running. And I think all that data is going to become publicly available. So it might be something we could look and see what are the big buildings in Amherst that are and which are the least efficient. And maybe there's something that we could help them do to improve their efficiency.
Just out of
Yeah.
curiosity, when was that requirement announced?
Probably a while ago, but I don't know exactly when. I mean, we only got the letter in April. It went to the town manager, so
Interesting. I'm interested because we
Yeah,
were trying to get that information from UMass for all the buildings to see where the low hanging fruit is, and in terms of energy use, where do we start? And they did finally get it to us, but now I think the reason we got it might have had something to do with this requirement.
You know what platform or like database they're using? Because I know like other cities use like Energy Star or
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it's the Energy Star Portfolio
Yep.
Manager
Yeah.
platform.
yep.
Is it the same? Okay.
Yeah, it's Energy Star Portfolio Manager.
All right. Other announcements? Anything else? Questions? ECAC member updates. I have only one update that I don't think everybody knows, or maybe folks do, but Caitlin also, Laura resigned at our last meeting after a long service. Caitlin also is leaving town, so had to resign. And so we want to thank her for her work on the committee, and I'm sorry it was so short. But I think she said that she took a job overseas somewhere. Is that right?
I don't remember overseas. I just know elsewhere. She's overseas vacationing right now, but I don't know that her job is overseas.
Let's see if I can find it.
She's in Greece right now, I think, or was in Greece.
She's not burning up.
Yeah.
The new job that requires her to relocate. Okay, she doesn't say where it is, just that she needs to relocate, and she's currently on vacation in Greece. All right, well, it's again, I just wanted to extend my thanks to her for her service on the committee and my sorrow that it was so short. Wish we could have kept her around a little longer. And I'm wishing Caitlin luck in her new job and all that sort of thing.
Are there any predictions on how soon we'll get new members?
So if you want me to give a quick update on that, Lori?
Yes, please.
So yeah, so we Lori and I were part of an interview search, and we have 2 new members coming on. They can't join until they've obviously been sworn in. But they were approved, the town manager's recommendations were approved by the council at their last meeting. So, sorry, I'm blanking on names right now. I could find them if you give me a minute.
Interviews.
Sorry, I
there's,
can't. I think, is it
TJ?
Jennifer?
Janet?
No,
Not
it
Janet.
wasn't Janet. No, sorry. Instead of us guessing, let me just find the names. Sorry. Well, you can talk about something else and then I'll find it and I'll let you know when I find it.
Okay, I'll let you get. I only have first names anyway, so let's see what else is on the.
Oh, actually, I have it right here. Sorry.
Go ahead,
Emily Dorr
Emily. Okay, good.
and Tetsuya Tanaka will be joining us. Emily is a mom
Oh, right.
who
Yep.
is very committed to being involved, and also Tetsuya is a student who has done a lot of activist work, and I think Tony and Tetsuya are going to set the world on fire in a good way.
Tetsuya is a rising
The two of them
sophomore.
on this one community
gonna
is going to be amazing.
As I say, Tetsu is great. I've worked
you
with
know
them
him?
Oh,
a
good.
few times. Yeah, so
Good,
they're
good.
great.
They're great. Yeah, they're a rising sophomore at Amherst College. So yeah.
So
Okay, cool.
Emily will be, Emily's appointment is until 2028 and Tetsuya's is until 2027.
Okay, good. Which makes sense. Good. All right. Let's see other things. I think, let's see, we have staff updates, ECAC member updates, items for the next agenda. We'll keep the op-ed goes off the agenda because we're going to submit it. Education series stays on. Barstow tour will hopefully be a recap. So Barstow's tour, what do you call it? Not a recap, a debrief. What else do we need? We talked about regional and state policy updates, maybe a letter there. Maybe we should put that higher up on the continue the discussion of the, what's it called, Bill Mass? Of the Mass Ready Act. So let's put Mass Ready Act response up on there somewhere. Anything else?
You wanted me to take a look at the Smart 3.0.
Right.
which I'll do.
Smart 3.0 and particularly the effect on local farmers.
Yep.
That could be up on there somewhere so we don't forget.
I'm putting it on the agenda as an item.
Yep. And then hopefully we will have 2 new members to welcome. We are leaving one spot open because we really feel like we need somebody with expertise in the energy sector or in architecture, green architecture, or building or construction. We lost a lot of expertise with Jesse and Laura and Dwayne. So again, if you'd reach out to your communities, if you know people who might be interested, who have that sort of deep expertise in a specific area that's of interest to this group, that would be really good.
And remind me, the only requirement is that they are a town resident?
I think that's it. I assume they have to be a town resident. Yes, Stephanie?
Well, or a student. I think
Or student,
we allow for students as
Ah.
well.
I think students are optionally residents, right?
Yeah.
All right, so if there's nothing else for the agenda, we have public comment again. So if we have any comments, raise your hand. Audience, oh, Abigail is raising her hand.
I'll let her. Go ahead, Abigail. You can unmute and speak.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say thanks. It was really cool to listen.
I think someone mentioned it was really cool to hear about the education series, and the local activism fair. Someone mentioned Krista Harper. I wanted to say, like, I also work in her lab at UMass.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
So I think she would be a great speaker. And I know her lab has been doing really awesome work. It would be cool, I don't know, to get more groups together sort of in that sense. I think people would be interested. But yeah, overall, really cool to hear. And thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you, Abigail. Thanks again.
Yeah.
And so if there's nothing else, I think we need a move to adjourn. Nobody wants to adjourn.
I'll move to it.
Do we have a second?
I second.
I'll second.
And all in favor say bye, as always.
Bye.
Aye, aye,
Yeah.
aye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.